Hi, today we will explain the plot of the movie called Geostorm, which was released in 2017. Well, let's get straight to the story. This movie tells the condition of the Earth, which is very chaotic due to natural disasters that occur. All natural disasters such as tsunamis, tornadoes, extreme drought, all hit countries around the world. Finally, 17 countries decided to unite and build a giant satellite named Dutch Boy. The satellite was designed by a scientist named Jake Lawson. Thanks to the Dutch Boy, the disaster was slowly stopped and humanity was temporarily free from the threat of destruction. However, the situation did not last long. A few years after the success of the project, Jake was suddenly faced with a Senate committee hearing. He was accused of various offenses that he didn't actually commit. To make matters worse, the committee decided to replace some of Jake's team members on the space station with new people sent by them. Jake strongly objected to this decision. He knew how important his team's ability to keep the Dutch Boy operational was. However, the argument wasn't strong enough, and the committee finally decided to fire Jake from his position and hand over control of the Dutch Boy to his younger brother, Max Lawson. The decision was a hard blow to Jake, who was forced to accept that he had lost everything, including his job, his household, and even his pride. 3 years on, the world is again rocked by strange events. In the desert of Afghanistan, UN troops discover a village suddenly covered in snow amidst extreme heat that reaches 49 degrees.
My father.
When they entered the village, they found a horrifying sight. The people were frozen like statues. The incident immediately caught the attention of world leaders. They suspected a malfunction in the Dutch Boy, and Max, who was now leading the project, immediately proposed to send a team of experts to investigate the problem. He even enlisted the help of his brother, who was the lead designer, to double-check what was wrong. The request received full approval from the president with additional support from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Max, who had not seen Jake for the past 3 years, finally met his brother. He found Jake living a simple life in a small house by the beach. At first, Jake strongly refused Max's request because of the old wounds that were still lingering. But Jake knew he could not ignore the serious threat. Reluctantly, Jake agrees to return to the space station and investigate what happened. On the other side of the world, in Hong Kong, the weather suddenly took an extreme turn. The dramatically soaring temperatures was a bad omen. Soon, hot lava and flames burst from underground, destroying everything in an instant. Most Hong Kong residents survived the incident. But strangeness appeared soon after. The previously hot weather suddenly turned into freezing cold. Elsewhere, Jake drove his daughter back to his ex-wife's house. His daughter, Hannah Lawson, asked her father not to go back to space, as she was afraid he wouldn't return. However, Jake knew that no one really understood the Dutch Boy like he did. After saying goodbye, with a heavy heart, he decided to leave. When he arrived at the space station, he was greeted by Ute Fassbinder, the chief scientist. Jake finds it strange to look back at the huge project he designed 3 years ago. Thousands of interconnected satellites protecting the Earth, all controlled from the station. Meanwhile, Max gets a distress call from his friend Chung Long, who is an engineer in Hong Kong. Chung believes that the horrific events happening in Hong Kong are not the result of a gas explosion as they've been told. He suspects that someone has sabotaged the Dutch Boy system. The satellite that was supposed to protect Hong Kong was suddenly inaccessible, and all Chung's attempts to gain access were rejected. Chung promised to meet Max in person, but before that could happen, someone pushed him until he was seriously injured. In his dying state, Chung had told Max about something called the Zeus Project. Max finally immediately contacted Jake at the space station and warned that this was high-level sabotage. Jake also warned Max not to trust anyone, because it is likely that the mastermind of all this is in government circles. Max can't track the Zeus project without access to the White House system, which only those closest to the president have. Luckily, Max's girlfriend, Sarah Wilson, is the president's chief security officer. At first, Sarah was reluctant to grant access because it violated protocol, but Max managed to convince her that the situation at this time was very emergency. With that access, they began to dig for more information. At the space station, Jake and Ute find new evidence after their partner is killed in a mysterious incident.
We all end the same way.
Examining their murdered partner's locker, they find a copy of a file from the satellite system. The file is full of a dangerous virus that is the cause of strange events in Afghanistan, where a village is frozen solid. The virus appears to be designed to disrupt certain satellite system functions, making the satellite work out of control. As Max and the others begin to understand the real situation, it turns out that the Dutch Boy has been hacked by someone to be turned into a deadly weapon. If the plan had succeeded, almost the entire world would have been hit by a disaster that could have killed millions of people. Max immediately reported his findings to Jake, and Jake, who heard it, immediately panicked, although he wasn't too surprised, as he always suspected that political interference could make the system uncontrollable. Initially, Jake suspected that only the president had full access to hack the Dutch boy. But on the other hand, it was also possible that the president was involved. But Jake also believed that the president might be being framed by another party. Max must find the safety code from the president to stop the plan. But the situation on Earth is getting worse. A sudden shower of hailstones the size of a human fist occurs. Meanwhile, in Brazil, the temperature drops so drastically that the seawater freezes, freezing anyone nearby to death. At the space station, Jake and his team try to slow the spread of the virus by crashing infected satellites into other satellites. Luckily, this effort manages to stop the disaster temporarily, but a bigger threat emerges. It's the Geostorm, a cataclysmic event that will hit the entire surface of the Earth within the next